All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today to talk about National Work Zone Awareness Week and the way that we can hold events for this. With me here today as our presenters, we have Rick Smith, who is with RoadSafe, and he is also involved with the ATSSA Indiana chapter. We have Carolyn Moreno with Caltrans, who is involved with the ATSSA California chapter. We have Greg Webb with MPA and also involved with the ATSSA New Mexico chapter. We have Chuck Bergman with Michigan DOT, who is involved with the ATSSA Michigan chapter. We have Lori Diaz, who is the foundation director for American Traffic Safety Services Foundation. And we also have Maria Robinson, who is the ATSSA Director of Marketing and Communications, who will be helping kind of behind the scenes a little bit. So we are excited to have everyone here for this. The session is being recorded, and we will make the recording available after we are finished, in a day or two after we're finished. For Q&A, we will ask you to hold your questions till the end, and which time we'll have an answer session. Submit your questions at any time during the presentation. Use your Q&A box that's on the Zoom navigation bar to do so. So today we will start with an overview of the 2022 National Work Zone Awareness Week National Kickoff event. Then we'll have a discussion of some of the chapter events that have been held over the years to give people ideas of things that can be done. Then we'll talk about hosting the national event and the application for that. We'll also talk about the National Work Zone Memorial and ways that it can be used. Then we'll have time for questions at the very end. So, hello, and I just realized I haven't introduced myself. I'm Mitzi Osterhout. I'm with American Traffic Safety Services Association. I'm also the chair for the Executive Committee for National Work Zone Awareness Week. So National Work Zone Awareness Week for 2022 is being hosted by Virginia DOT. It will be held April 11th through the 15th, and it will be held at around a work zone in Virginia. Virginia is still determining the final location. They have a few that they are considering. For the events for National Work Zone Awareness Week, we have events for every day of the week. On Monday, we have a Work Zone Safety Training Day, which is an opportunity to provide training to employees about safety within the work zone. Tuesday is the National Kickoff event, where we'll have the big event with the press and some of the elected officials will usually arrive at this event. Wednesday is Go Orange Day. It's a big media day and a chance to really use a lot of social media to take pictures with your staff in orange or other orange things, post them all over social media. You can reach out to press in the area, ask them to wear orange on TV, things like that. I've seen cities that convince the city to put orange lights on a lot of the buildings. Thursday is a day for social media storms. So, it's a chance to really put together your social media and put things out there, but also pay attention to other social media and like it, and really try to create a big social media storm. And then as an important day, and this is an addition for this year, on Friday, we will ask people to observe a moment of silence for those that have been lost in work zones. So the people who are on the National Work Zone Executive Committee, the main partners, we have ATSSA, we have AASHTO and FHWA. We have 3 DOTs who are on the Executive Committee. That's Virginia, Maryland, and DC. They are on the committee because on the even years, one of them, they rotate who hosts on those even years. They are all in the Washington, D.C. metro area. And so every other year we have one of them host it so that hopefully some of the high-level officials like in FHWA will be able to attend the kickoff press event. Other partners who were the initial partners, although we now partner with many people, but within the executive committee we have AGC, the Associated General Contractors, ARTBA, Federal Motor Carriers, NWZAW, and OSHA. So for our national kickoff event, I get a lot of questions about how can we do, what should we do with the applications? And it is wonderful to be able to spread this national event around the country and get that recognition for different states. And Chuck will talk with you more about hosting the national event as we get further along in this presentation. At the same time, it's important to recognize that there are lots of ways to be involved and to host events without waiting for a chance to host the national event. And so we have asked, we've asked Rick and Carolyn and Greg and even Chuck to some extent to talk about some of the things that they've done within their states, because they've had some great events and done some really incredible things. And on that note, I am going to turn the floor over to Rick so that he can talk to you about some of the things that Indiana has done. Rick?
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you putting this on. It's a good discussion nationwide, and I think it stirs up motivation to work on that week. In Indiana, we've tried every year to try to come up with some kind of a strategy. It has to be kind of different every year. There's a lot of obstacles in the way for what we try to do. Sometimes just getting the media to show up. It's got to be, it depends, a lot of it depends on what's going on in the news, whether or not they'll cover you. So our best exposure obviously is local media at the bigger cities. We have 6 districts in Indiana, so we try to do something in every district to try to get the word out for that week. And NDOT does a lot of overhead signage for Work Zone Awareness Week to advertise that. The Indiana chapter, we work together to work with NDOT, the news media, and the state police to get out these, to get out the word. So in Indiana, we have 2 focuses. One is what we call the Interstate Array setups. It's a fallen worker array that we set up. This is a crude drawing of it, but it kind of shows you how it's set up. It's a 1-mile section that you'll drive through, a main thoroughfare of an interstate, 65, for example, coming into Indianapolis from the north of Chicago. You'll come into this zone. It'll have sets of signs, and the first sign you'll see is caution ahead, 1,000 feet down the road, 26 lives lost. And then the next set will say in Indiana work zones last year. And then 1,000 feet later, Work Zone Awareness Week. And then another 1,000 feet, you'll see the fallen worker array in the middle of the interstate. And then towards the end of the 1-mile section, it'll say, will you slow down? So we set these up. We have 6 locations that we kind of religiously set up. Well, not all locations every year. It just depends. Like I said, there's obstacles when you do this, but we have these set locations that inside barrier wall or either barrier wall or barrier cable where these arrays can be set up and they cannot be hit. And they're set in a way to where vandalism or, nobody can take anything off the post. But this is an example how we have these locations already set up. And we have this particular year, we had different contractors setting them up. The only people that set these up are sign and barricade companies who are certified to do it. And then we have the locations. We call in the permits. We do locates. We do everything by the book. We have a standard operating procedure. This is an example of what we pass out to every year to whoever's installing it, so that everything's consistent. Everything is crash worthy, put out there as if it was a work zone sign. So with that said, the state gets a little nervous when you put signs out there that are not a warning sign. This is more of an advertisement. So NDOT's been really great with us, letting us do this. So we try to do what we can to make sure that everything is safe and doesn't cause an incident. So this is an interstate array that we'd set up, different locations. We've been doing this for about 15 years now. It's not always at all locations, depending on who the permits person is at that district. Sometimes people drop off and the next person takes that position, isn't familiar with what we're doing, and it's a little difficult to get approved. So we just skip that area for that year and try again throughout the year to get it set up for the next year. So that's the interstate setup. So the other goal that we have is to go out and reach out to the media. So when we do the interstate arrays, that's one setup, and then we work with NDOT to work out all the 6 districts, or try to, any kind of local event that we can have. So what we do is we schedule whatever districts are willing to do this. We'll schedule a location and have a media meet us there for that day, and then we'll have a backdrop of a mock crash zone. And the media really eats that up because they like that as a backdrop. So what we'll do is we'll call, let's say we have it in Indianapolis. The courthouse is a very popular place because, or the Capitol building, I'm sorry, is a popular place because the government center is right there, and the media shows up, and the media, some media personnel will stay there for several hours and cover morning and afternoon news, and stay at that location and use that as their backdrop, so which is good for us. So we call a local towing person or company, and they bring us a car. It usually costs the ATSSA chapter less than $500 probably for the whole year. I think it costs us about an average of $250 to have a car brought out to us on site. And that's the towing company. Now, what we tell the towing company is your truck can be used in this media event, so you get a lot of exposure, and they really like that. So these are examples of crashed vehicles that we'll put on site. And then you know, like one year I had a person stand there pretty much with a motorcycle police officer acting like he was handcuffing him. So just little things that you can do to make it a little bit exciting. The media shows up. We had one year, it was on the east side of Indianapolis. I think when the Boston bombing happened, we had 200 people out there. We were all excited, and the news media never showed up. We couldn't figure out what was going on, and it ended up, because of that, the news media was going crazy over something else. So again, your exposure depends on what's going on in the news. If it's a slow news day, a lot of times you get a lot of coverage. Now we try to accommodate whatever the theme is. Can you go back? If you notice the center, go back to the tow trucks. Yeah, one more. If you notice the center, one more. Sorry. We had depending on the theme, we tried to accommodate the theme, like drive like you work here. And we had a desk on one of the trucks, and we actually did that in the crash scene where we had a worker his whole purpose for that week was to follow us around, and this one here in the middle left, you'll see the guy on the desk, and that's the theme that year was drive like you work here. So we had a desk on the back of the truck and the construction work over there. So anything you could do to kind of make it exciting, it's great exposure. And again, we try to do that in all 6 districts. You know, if we only get 3 districts out of the 6, it's a good year. So anyway, good turnout. Sometimes, like I said, if it's a slow news day, the media will come back, and they'll use your backdrop as a drop, and they'll mention it, and it'll be in the morning news and it'll be in the evening news. We try to get that in all 6 districts if we can, 3 or 4 districts, you know, at the least. So some years it's slow, some years it's better. It just depends on what's going on. Like I said, it takes a little bit of homework to get all these people together. NDOT and state police are really great. Towing companies are really great with us. Sometimes they call me, say, hey, what are we doing this year? So we appreciate that. It just takes, the ATSSA chapter is great. In the ATSSA chapter, we have good unity. We work together, try to make things happen. And I think with the budget, it's really small You know, $250 to have a car and a tow truck to show up is the main, you know, that crash scene is the main excitement of that theme, if you please. So I think that helps us, and it's a reasonable budget, and then of course the contractors all pitch in. So that's what we're doing in Indiana.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Well, we will move on now. Thank you, Rick. You know, it's fun to see all the different ideas of the signs along the roads and the vests and the hats. So we'll move on now. Next, we have Carolyn Morena from Caltrans, and she's going to talk a bit about her involvement.
Good afternoon, everyone. We do our Work Zone Awareness Week event in conjunction with our Workers Memorial. So as the next slide will show that, you know, make it more than just a press conference. You want it more than, you know, just your head honchos out there speaking to the media and everything's said and done after that. What we do is, like I said, we do it with our Workers Memorial, make it personal rather than bureaucratic. And we'll see in some of the slides earlier when we talk about speakers, what I mean by that is you want a personal touch. You know, obviously you're going to have your office, your department director there. If you can, you know, potentially have your governor. But what really worked for us is making that personal and having employees and family members speak at the memorial. That tends to be a real media draw. Again, we incorporate that with the Work Zone Awareness Week, make it about the families and the workers. Another thing you can do, you know, hosting, as Rick said earlier, is if you host the National Work Zone Awareness Week, you're going to get a little more push from the media or participation from the media on that as well. And then obviously, if you're hosting, they've already talked about submitting the application. California is a rather large state, and we do a very large event. So it's something that takes quite a few people. So we established a rather large team to assist with various aspects of the meeting, the memorial, and we hold regular status meetings. That's key to make sure everybody's on track there. We create a very detailed work plan with that as well. Mine is about 26 pages long, and it talks about everything that you need to do, who's responsible, dates, and so forth. Again, the invitations, obviously it's going to be your agency director. If you can have the governor there, that's going to be a great media pool. Again, family members, impacted employees are always, you know, very heartfelt. People that have survived an incident or unfortunately have been in an incident where somebody, maybe their coworker didn't survive or something. I know I said don't keep it bureaucratic, but then again, you do have your Senate and Assembly member transportation chairs. So we do invite them. They tend to be a little upset if we don't. Some ideas for the ceremony. What we do is we have a cone set up. It's in the shape of a diamond. You'll see a picture later on. Each one of those cones has the name of a fallen worker, a band with their name on it that we drop over the cone. There's 189. And then we also have one final one that we keep in the center of the diamond, which is shaped like a caution zone that says in memory of all highway workers. We start our ceremony off with our bagpipes. You know, we have a flag ceremony. We pass the cones. So if we have a fatality that year, our honor guards are in the middle of a cone and they pass those through, and they do a quick nod to that, and then they place it to close the cone at the end if we do have a fatality. We have an honor guard. You'll see some pictures of that later on. Bagpipe bugler are always wonderful. Our singer sings Amazing Grace while the honor guard is doing their cone ceremony. The choir kicks off with the national anthem. We have a wreath out there. We also request that the Capitol flags be flown at half staff that day, and they do that. Of course, you want visuals, as Rick mentioned earlier, with some of his events there with the cars and so forth. And we also have a children's poster contest. It used to be just for maintenance employees, but now we've opened it up to the entire department. So children and grandchildren. Definitely work with your partners and your sponsors. Obviously, ATSSA is out there. California Transportation Foundation, for us, they're a nonprofit here that works with the transportation industry. They work They do Workers Memorial throughout our districts. We have 12 districts. They assist with those. They do assist financially. They also oversee our Fallen Workers Memorial Scholarship for the children of fallen workers. We have Flasher Barricade, which is an association, and they donate all the waters, which is substantial. It can be quite warm, and we end up having about 800 to 1,000 attendees at the ceremony. So that was they actually offered to donate that. So that's been wonderful. We work with our unions. They rotate. We have 2 unions that are very prominent within Caltrans. We rotate speakers every other year, again, trying to keep it so it's not so bureaucratic and more of a personal touch. But the union that does speak sponsors the luncheon, which hosts about 200 people, which is our dignitaries and family members. You know, transportation officials, whether it be the Assembly, the Senate, local, doesn't necessarily even need to be elected officials. We do have FHWA there, AGC does attend as well, and then you can do your construction industry, transportation officials. And then obviously the media, we work with them. We have a media that's been very kind that does electronic billboards for a week leading up to our Workers Memorial pro bono. And some sponsorship opportunities. We do a Jumbotron. We're over at the state capitol. It's quite a large area and it's difficult for people in the back to see. So the Jumbotron, a big LED screen that raises, I think it's about 20 feet high and 15 feet wide. So it allows those that are in the background to see that event. So that's something that you can do. Roses, we hand out roses to our family members. We have a wreath at the ceremony. We do the luncheon, memorial wristbands for the family members. We have orange memorial ribbons that we order through Reflexit. Photo buttons that we give the families, memorial pins that we do each year, except for the last few years with COVID. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do our shirts and pins. We have a detailed program. We've also had folks contribute to the scholarship for assistance of children of fallen workers. Although Caltrans created this, we have worked with CTF to expand this to all transportation fallen workers, not just Caltrans. So if you had a local entity or a contractor who was lost while working, their children would also be eligible for this scholarship. And then 1 year we did a debt relief. So these are just some ideas that you might be able to work with partners and things that they might be able to help with financially, things that you can't necessarily pay for with state dollars. Again, this is a memory of our fallen workers here. I'll go through these a little quickly just for the sake of time here. I talked about the billboards earlier. Here's just a sample. We change the design each year, but we wanted something, you know, soft, memorial-like. So this was Jaime, who was killed back in 2011. And we have 12 districts throughout our state. And we also make sure that if we have a fallen worker, and we do have photos for them, that our billboards are located in the area that their families live in. And then here's just some fundraising ideas. The orange ribbon that goes through Bayline Reflexit, I've included the link here. They're very familiar with the ribbons. And so we just say Caltrans Workers Memorial, and we have the year. People collect these year after year. There's t-shirts you can do. You can do sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, women's shirts. I just showed an example of one of the shirts that we did 1 year. It was one of my favorites. Here's a sample of the pin that I was speaking about. This one goes back to 2017, but we change them every year to kind of coordinate with the design that we have. The round picture there is a photo button. We hand those out to families when they check in for the Workers Memorial. And then here's a picture of our honor guard. We before the ceremony, which lasts about an hour, families come in early, check in, get all their information, their tickets for lunch, their ribbons, their wristbands, and so forth. And then they have the opportunity to take a picture with our honor guard and the National Work Zone Memorial in the background as well. And we take their cone and we place their loved one's cone in front of them for the pictures. We start our flag ceremony with the bagpipes, and then our honor guard carries the flags in. And then here's an overview of one of ours. You can see the diamond shape and the cones that we keep in the center. So this particular year, we unfortunately had 2 fatalities. And then the black cone is in memory of all highway workers. So our honor guard would go down the middle of those, line up, and then they would rotate and then show the family the cone and rotate throughout till they get to the end. And then at the end of the ceremony, they would close that opening there. These are just some pictures of the family members and the cones. Again, they take pictures with their cones. They're probably standing for the national anthem there. You know, here's our honor guard escorting the family to the wreath ceremony. And then the National Work Zone Memorial is the background there. Just wanted to show that. And going back to the workers, to the national, we've always liked to have the wall at our ceremony. And that always didn't obviously coincide with the National Work Zone Awareness Week, because the wall would be where whoever was hosting it that year. So we would do it like maybe 10 days after so we could host the wall. You could see kind of a picture of the program here. The families keep these every year, and a picture of the rose that we hand out to each of the families. And then I'm just going to show you some program elements here. We talk about it, who it's dedicated to. We have a listing of the speakers and the ceremony. Just a couple pictures. If we have a fatality again this year, this is a montage to Mr. Lopez. And then we ask the family to provide, whether it be a poem or a few words. Anyway, we print those in the program there. And that came from the Lopez family. And then we have a listing of each one of our fallen workers and the year that they passed and the district that they belong to. And we have a poster contest, as I mentioned earlier, and we do include those winners in the program. So this is just a sample here. And then here's just some pictures, the Capitol with the flags at half staff there. The wreath, there's a picture of the LED screen in the background, so you can see that. And then there are individuals all the way around that diamond, except for one side, which we stage for the media and for our video folks as well. And this is a family member. This is a memorial plaque that we have in our lobby. Our lobby is right across the street from the state capitol, so it's convenient for them to come over. And so their loved ones, this is they're putting Mr. Palmer's name up on the memorial wall. And this is Stephen Palmer Jr., and he actually works for us. So here's kind of the evolution of the honor guard. You saw a picture earlier. This was a picture of right before I started. You can see there are black jeans, orange shirts, and hard hats. And this is what they are today. So a much more honorable looking. It's just really added a whole level of sophistication to the ceremony, and it's just really evolved, and it's something we're very proud of. And then we have a video montage that we do each year. I don't know if you want to click on this. This thing is like 14 minutes long, so we obviously don't want to show it, but I just wanted to give you a glimpse. This is just the beginning, so if you wouldn't mind just. You might need to double click. That's fine. People can look at it at their leisure. Anyway, it's just a few words from our director, and then we had some pictures throughout the video, as well as all the names scrolling, and then we did include pictures of anyone we had. We have 189 fallen workers, but we do not have that many photos. So, but everybody's name is included in the year that they passed. And this was just a beginning to the video. And then this is a sample of, Chester's picture and the year he passed and the district that he was from. And then this is our plaque. This is a piece from the video where our director is placing the rose on the plaque that we have in the thing. And this is at the end here. And one of the things that Rick touched on earlier were some of the visuals as well. When we're at the Capitol, we fortunately have been able to have different visuals out there and storyboards. So those, we may have a Caltrans truck that has been crashed into. We'll create a storyboard and the situation that's been around that. one year we did, and we try to make sure we don't do anything with a fallen worker where there's been a fatal situation. But that also helps bring the media out. They want to see those. They can show those on, on their news screen along with the family members. Interview family members. That's another takeaway for the media. We've had that happen, both English and Spanish interviews. And so visuals and families are very important, and that will really bring the media in. And the reason you want that is because you want to get your message out there.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. I know that Caltrans has a long and very proud history of supporting National Work Zone Awareness Week and getting a lot of visibility for it. And I know that you have been extensively involved with that. So thank you. And I imagine we'll have some questions at the end for this. I see a few piling up in the box there. Next, we are going to hear from Greg Webb, who is with the New Mexico chapter. And the New Mexico chapter has really been involved lately in doing a lot of activities for National Work Zone Awareness Week. So Greg, let me turn the floor over to you.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody from all over the country. It's great to see that we have tremendous turnout from what we gather of folks tuning in. And so on behalf of the New Mexico chapter of ATSSA, I'm delighted to share some of the things that we've done here in New Mexico. You'll see some of the similar themes in terms of getting media involved, doing stuff at our state capitol. And sort of the photo that you see there was from right before COVID hit. We did a very similar cone display. The cones, the black cones represent traffic deaths in work zones, and then the other cones are accidents in work zones. And so we usually, through some of our membership, set these cone displays up in several places, one of them being at our airport rental car and, sort of spot where we have signage talking about the significance of the cones. But for this particular picture, we did it at our state capitol. Both to draw awareness from sort of our administration and sort of our elected leaders, but then also to draw in, again, media. We similarly had folks come and talk about sort of the near misses or losing sort of coworkers and those types of things. Then the other thing that we've done is we've incorporated an element of getting proclamations and resolutions from everybody from the governor down to sort of the state legislature to city councils. Because oftentimes, as we recognize, those of us that have worked in government speak, sometimes those are the things that get awareness within policymakers. We've done sort of the whole sort of media speaking circuit of morning local shows talking about the significance of National Work Zone Awareness Week. And one of the other things that we've done is we've typically had a calendar coloring contest for elementary school students, where we would then pick an elementary school, do a school assembly where the contest winners were awarded, and then we incorporate those winning sort of that artwork into a calendar that then is distributed through a lot of our partners to, again, almost every month highlighting the importance of National Work Zone Awareness Week. And so what we have on some of the next slides are just some of these examples of some of the template language. Typically, we incorporate sort of that previous year's statistics into sort of some of the resolutions that we've had passed. And we would certainly make those available to any of the folks as well. I'm sure some of you all have done similar things. And then we've done sort of op-ed writing to sort of local newspapers talking about the critical importance of sort of work zone safety and road safety for that matter. And so those are just some of the sort of highlights of what we've done here in New Mexico. And oftentimes we pivot this directly into sort of our legislative platform for things that we're going to support around sort of work zone safety as well. And so it's almost a year-round sort of highlighting encapsulated during National Work Zone Awareness Week and with a wide variety of activities. And so with that, I will turn it back over to Mitzi.
All right, thank you, Greg. Yeah, I think it's quite impressive the way that your chapter has made it pretty much a year-round event and pull in so many different parts of your community, ranging from the schools to different elected officials, the mayor, the governor. And as you mentioned, you made some of the verbiage available for the proclamations, and we will have that available. I'll give a link for that later in the presentation here. Thank you, Greg. So now we're going to move on to Chuck Bergman. Chuck is with Michigan DOT, and Michigan DOT is the only DOT to ever host National Work Zone Awareness Week, the national kickoff event, 2 years in a row. And you can thank COVID for that. So, I will turn the floor over to Chuck and let him talk to you about some of what has been involved for him with this.
Thanks, Mitzi. So I'm going to talk to you more about the planning, what we went into the last couple of years doing our events. A couple of years ago, I did see the Caltrans presentation, and I think Carolyn should have gone last, but because this is big shoes to fill, and a lot to look up to what they do out there. Caltrans, they go over the top, and I guess I've been striving year to year to get ours bigger and bigger for our events. But our planning is, there's a lot going involved in it. You can go to the next slide. So just things to think about when you're selecting the Work Zone Awareness Week events day. Like in Michigan here, we have to worry about the weather. It's not sunny and warm every day. Like yesterday, we just got 6 inches of snow. So early April is not really a good time of year for us. So we did push our event to the end of April, just so that the ground would be a little harder and grass would start growing. And last year, it worked out great for our events when we did have it out there. But you need to think about things when you're doing your events too. You need to pick a unique location. Like when we were going to do the national event the first year in 2020, we had planned to host it at our American Center for Mobility, which is the test track for autonomous vehicles. So we were going to bring out a lot of suppliers and have just different stations so people can walk around to and see different new technologies out there, along with autonomous vehicles driving along the track. But we had it all planned, and then COVID hit, and we had to pull the plug at the last minute. So we were lucky the next year to have another event, but we had to scale it down again because of COVID and the numbers. And so we had it on a project, and we picked, a 5 mile long reconstruction project on M59 with a center median. And I'm going to talk about things that went well, and then things that did not go so well, things you need to look out for when you're having on a project. So 2 weeks prior to the project, there's a median out there. We selected our one spot within 5 miles where we wanted to have this, and told the project engineer and the contractor, keep this spot clear for us. So 2 weeks out, I go out there every other day and have to kick off trucks, kick off trailers, equipment, materials. Like everybody, for some reason, they just want to park in the one location where we wanted to have our event. So it was a little frustrating. And then the day before the tent, or the day of the tent arrival, the tent's going to be set up. In that middle picture there, I see this slurry coming out of the ground, and I'm like, today's a beautiful day, and it's just going to go great. They flattened out the ground for us, and all of a sudden, this slurry comes out of the ground. I look over, the directional drilling underneath where we want to have the event, and it's leaking and coming through the ground and causing these big mud puddles. And so I pulled out more hair the rest of the day on that, but we did get that all cleaned up. The tent got set up, and we had our event the next day. But things to think about when you're setting up on a job: you need to have parking. You need to have parking for media, the speakers, politicians, and invitees. Separate parking for them. Restrooms available, electrical outlets, generators. When you have it outside in a construction project, you have to worry about background noise, and then for the speakers, and also for traffic going by. We had our governor come too. They have their own detail that comes out ahead of time and make sure the site is secure. And then also tables, chairs, and some years we have our event in a warehouse too. Next slide. So the poster on the left is from our 2020. We designed it based off of hosting at the ACM, which was also a location where we had Willow Run Airport, which is historic for airplanes and building during the war. So we kind of monitor, made our poster based off that. And then the one on the right was our one for 2021. So when you think of your poster, you got to think of all kinds of different things when you're creating it. Think of correctness, think of just things going on work zones and then think of a good slogan for that year. So you think it would be easy, but we come up with several different slogans and then have to narrow it down every year for what we wanted to do. Next slide. So as they mentioned, the other presentations, we want to have the media there. Like Rick mentioned, it is difficult sometimes to get the media there unless you have something special there going on, like if fallen workers' family speaking, or in case the governor comes, the media always comes. And then you also want to honor them at the event too. So we did all kinds of things. We also bring different items to the event too. We like to promote just our different work zone items, different work zone innovations to the event. So we'll have pedestal signals there. We have speed trailers, radar speed trailers, just different items for media to see and put on TV that's, so the public can know that, hey, we are concerned with work zone fatalities and that we are doing everything we can with new innovations to promote work zone safety. Next slide. So at the event, we do host a memorial, and then putting that all together, it takes time. You have to have areas for that, and then the backdrop. It's good to have the backdrop set up. We'd also use the cones. I just stole that idea from the other states, putting black ribbons around them, and then the crosses with the vests are for the workers with the hard hats, and then the cones are for the non-workers who lost their lives in work zones. And then, like I mentioned before, you want to showcase different things at your events. So over the years, we've invited we've gotten bigger and bigger, and every year, and a lot more people want to be involved. So from all over the state and even all over the country, we've had people come in and bring different things to our event, different innovations and things they want to show off. And like Rick mentioned too, that we told them, the companies too, if you bring your item to the event, feel free to leave your logo on there too for self-advertisement, because people see you guys on the road all the time. It's good to see you on TV and to promote that year for work zone safety also too. Next. So from an involvement standpoint, basically when you're starting off, you should form a committee. We have our existing committee. We've been doing ours for 9 years now. 8 or 9 years, and involved in state and local police, utility companies, OSHA, contractors, with industry, our ATSSA local chapter, our local state politicians, industry suppliers, local and state transportation authorities, and then our communications department at the DOT. Now we always involved and get everybody involved just to think of different things we can do every year. We do have falling into getting the same speakers every year, but we try to tell them to come up with something different. And amazingly, of all the years we've done it, the people who are spoken though always touch on something different when they're talking about work zone safety than the next person. So like the state trooper would talk about something a little different than the industry speaker at the event. So it's always worked out well where nobody's actually repeated themselves at one of our events, and we kind of strive to keep that different every year. So at our events, we like to do giveaways too. Giveaways draw people, and it also promotes the event. So we generate donations through our ATSSA Michigan chapter just by putting out an email to industry and collecting donations. And then through those donations, we do things like the hats. We give away shirts before. We're doing shirts again this year. The one on the right there is going to be our shirt this year. We're in planning stages for. Last year we did masks, and we're going to do masks again this year, just because they're in the end thing now, and I don't know if they're going to go away anytime soon. So just different things for the event. And then we also try to provide food and refreshments at the event too, because that does draw people to the event, just to try to get more people at the event and to make it, I don't want to say just a big gathering where everybody can come to and converse and talk about work zone safety. So then we also partner with our advertising billboards companies, and get the national poster, put it on the billboards in our state. They've been great working with us, and they do it the week before, during the week, and the week after for our event, and then they'll run them periodically on different boards throughout the summer for us. So that's been great working with them. And then our DMS digital message signing, we'll put the safety message out there for that week during it, and then again periodically throughout the summer on different boards that we have out there. And just remember, when you're having events, to always try to have fun at the end. It's kind of like your wedding day. You plan all year for it, and then and it's over before you know it, and and then you're left cleaning up everything. So just remember, there's a lot going into that day, but but if the media shows up and all the speakers show up and everybody gives the word out about work zone safety, then it's a successful day for everybody. So just remember that, and try to have fun, and when you're putting together an event, and not get too stressed out about anything.
All right. Well, thank you, Chuck. Thank you. Apparently your wedding day was so successful you got to have it 2 days in a row, right? Or 2 years in a row.
Just one wedding.
Thank you. And yes, as Chuck pointed out, Caltrans has also hosted the national event before, and both Michigan and Caltrans have actually, all of the national hosts have done really incredible jobs. So we have information available at NWZAW.org. This is also where we will be saving the recording of this. It will be available in a couple of days. As far as the application to host the national event, you can download the application from NWZAW.org. The applications are due by January 31st. The executive committee will review all applications, and will select the finalists. The things that they are going to look at are what is your theme? What type of location are you proposing? And they'll be looking at what kind of press connections you are also suggesting. And we're getting down to 10 minutes, so I'm going to kind of move quickly on that, other than to say that the due date for applications is January 31st. If you have any questions about it, please reach out to me. Well, gosh, my email, I should have it on the form, but and it's really hard to spell out. So you could send any questions to communications@atsa.com or mitzi.osterhout@atsa.com. Communications@atsa might be easier to remember. From here, let me also mention before I move on that we also have the artwork for this year, downloadable things that you can use in your social media and other advertising for the event. Or we also have a toolkit for chapters about kind of how to plan events, some ideas and suggestions in there. After this webinar, we'll probably update it with even more, because there's just there's fantastic information here. I'm going to move on to Lori Diaz and let her talk a little bit about the National Work Zone Memorial.
Thanks, Mitzi. I just want to spend a couple of minutes today. As you noticed with several of our panelists today, they talked about hosting the National Work Zone Memorial, which is under the foundation. The memorial honors those lives lost in work zones, and it must be an active work zone. And it could be the worker, a motorist, a pedestrian, a first responder, even a child. Their name is eligible to be added to the memorial. Names are added once a year, and that's each December. And then they are unveiled during ATSSA's convention each year. The memorial is available for hosting. We have two formats. We have our traveling memorial, which you saw many pictures of. And then we also have a new option, and that is a virtual format of our memorial. And Mitzi is showing it right now. It is about a 30-minute video, because there are currently 1,602 names on our memorials. So if you are interested in hosting the memorial, whether it's the traveling or the virtual, you can do so. Some ideas were brought up today as a backdrop during an event, a press event, hosting it for a state advocacy day, at welcome centers across your state for the virtual memorial. You can, since it's a video, it can be shown during meeting breaks, lunch breaks, as people are entering the meeting on site. The virtual memorial can be used because it's a low cost option for if you have a screen or monitor, it could be displayed in those on-site events as well. There is no cost to add a name to the memorial. So if you know eligible names that should be honored on the memorial, you can send those over to the foundation. If you're not sure, there is a database of names currently on the foundation's website that would allow you to look through them and see if there is a name that should be added. As it was mentioned, the National Work Zone Memorial does travel to the host state each year, but you can still host the memorial throughout the year. The memorial is traveling from January to December, early December each year, and then it's brought in from off the road to have repairs and maintenance done, as well as getting names that were submitted throughout the year added to the memorial for the next travel season. And that's just a quick overview on the memorial and some options on how you can host it for your events. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lori. So as a reminder, a recording of today's presentation will be available in a day or two at NWZAW.org. And we have lots of information available on that site also. So let's take a look at some of the questions. We have some questions in the Q&A box. And before I jump to the questions, I also want to give a shout out to Pamela Bouchard, ATSSA's Director of Member Engagement, and Michael Nersessian, also with ATSSA Member Engagement, for being on this webinar and helping both me, and I know that they are helping all of the chapters also. So thanks to them. So some of the questions that we have here, let's see, we have somebody asking, they want to host a company level week and invite other large road contractors from the area. Something similar to the OSHA Safe and Sound Week. Can we get registered and some signage forms from ATSSA? Okay, so if you're looking for artwork to be involved with this and that type of thing, yes, please go to nwzaw.org and you'll find a lot of information that you can use there. Yeah, Lori, I think you can probably talk to this one. We have a question from Stafford Oyama. Does the memorial include any worker killed while performing highway work? For example, private contractors, government employees, utilities, etc.
Yes, names. Those names that are on our memorial include work that was done as part of a mobile work zone. If it is an active work zone, their name is eligible to be added to the memorial, and it could be utility work or temporary work zone, things of that nature.
All right, thank you. Let's see. We have a question about how many states typically complete the application for review. We generally receive maybe 4. I'd say 4 is the average, 4 or 5 applications. Let's see. All right, Lori, these are going to be for you. When submitting a name for the memorial, and give me a second here because I'm going to try to combine these. Do you require additional documentation to have the name added? And actually go ahead and talk to that for a second.
We do. So we request that you either submit police report or a news article or something that shows, or an employee affidavit that shows that the work zone incident or the incident occurred within a work zone. So we do require that when you submit the name submission form that you do include that backup documentation.
All right, thank you. Then we're going to move from the memorial for a minute here and say, for a first-time hoster at a 50-person company, what ideas would you suggest? So if one of our panelists wants to speak up and kind of throw out some ideas for 50-person company, what might be some good ways to put your toes in the water first time out?
I could probably start it out. I'm sure others could jump in, but I think I'd start out with your DOT work zone safety officials, and maybe work with their media people as well, and see if you can't combine efforts, because they have a lot of those contacts and influences.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, contacting, of course, your local ATSSA, your state ATSSA chapter, to see if you could piggyback on an event that they're doing and or partner with them, or they could piggyback on your event.
We've had companies in our state want to do their own too, just for in-person, their own companies events. And I guess I would recommend just searching online, because there's a lot of PSAs out there, and showing one of those PSAs at your events for Work Zone Awareness Week. If you go online, there's several of them that the different states have put together, and they're all online if you just Google for that.
All right. Those are great suggestions. Thank you. And it's 2:59. I'm going to throw out one more quick question about the memorial. Lori, if you can please expand. Allison Green is asking if you would please clarify on when a child, pedestrian, or public official would be added to the National Work Zone Memorial.
Sure. So the National Work Zone Memorial honors all lives lost in work zones, and that's because the foundation's mission is to raise public awareness of the need to slow down and respect our work zones. So part of that is also raising the awareness that the majority of those killed in work zones are actually motorists. So when the memorial was launched in 2002, they decided to include names of motorists, which could be underage children. So that's why they have a children category. Talking about public officials, that's going to be your work zone worker, and then you're going to have your law enforcement, which is your public, which also is under the public official category, excuse me. And that is basically when you have police that are sitting in work zones, there are police vehicles that are struck and kills a law enforcement officer, and we want to make sure that we're honoring their lives as well. So that is why we include those names on the memorial. I will say, out of the 1,602 names that are currently on the memorial, majority of them are work zone workers.
All right. Well, thank you, Lori, and thank you to everyone who has been involved with this webinar. Greg, Rick, Carolyn, Chuck, and Lori, Maria, thank you all for your help. And we are at 3 o'clock, so we will wrap this up. Please visit nwzaw.org if you want more information. Thank you.